Hello and welcome to another episode of Fintech Focus TV with me, Toby. Today I'm back in the office, back up in a tier 3 lockdown up here in London for one day only. As we lurch towards Christmas, it is funny times that we're living in at the moment, but I am delighted to be joined from both London and New York at the moment by Amrish Ganatra and Allan Goldstein of Compscise. How are you guys?
Very good.
Excellent. Thanks, Toby. Good to see
It's
you.
lovely to have you. Lovely to have you on the show. And look, we've been talking a lot recently about the journey you guys have been on, which is a hugely exciting period for you and the business. There's loads and loads I want to get into and talk about, and I'm quite excited about some of the things we're going to be diving into today. They're bits that are very close to my heart on it all. But before we do that, give us a little bit of background about what you've been up to and the company itself.
Well, maybe I'll kick that off. So my name's Amrish Ganatra, and I am one of the co-founders of Compscise and also the CEO. We have been working with asset managers for close to 20 years now. Myself and my other fellow co-founders all met in the early 2000s. We worked at a little small company called Leighton Zero, which you may have heard of, Toby.
Once or twice.
Leighton Zero was eventually bought by Fidessa, but we were there implementing their solution. And then what we realized is actually buy-side firms really struggled with implementing complex technology solutions. And we realized that so much of the success of projects was down to the quality of the team on the buy side. And at the time, really, there was just contractors available that buy-sides could use to try and stitch a bunch of independent contractors together to try and help them implement technology solutions. And so what we realized is that what asset managers needed was a team of people who understood the business and understood the technology to sort of inject experience into accelerating project implementations. And so we managed to convince Leighton Zero to allow us to leave, set up a consulting company. In return, we stayed on, trained their teams for a bit longer, and they recommended us to all their customers in Europe. And that's how we really got started from a consulting background. We then sort of fast forward to 2010, we had about 15 consulting clients we worked for across Europe. And then what we saw was a gap in the market where asset managers really didn't have a technology solution that helps them in valuing all of their research providers. Obviously, there were OMSs, there were risk systems, there were performance systems, but there was no system out there that helps an asset manager in understanding and valuing all of the sell-side relationships that they have. And that means understanding or decomposing the trading relationship and understanding the research relationship. So that's really what we set off to build in Compscise. It took us 3 years in our part-time evenings and weekends, trying to build the first sort of prototype version. We eventually convinced one of our clients to license the solution in 2013. And very soon after that, we signed a number of other clients. We now have some of the largest asset managers in the world who use this technology. And so we're very grateful to be supported by every one of our clients in the way we now build out the product.
I think that's a brilliant story, and I love that sort of journey that you guys have been on. And I think it's sort of relatively unique, isn't it? That sort of consulting, even the journey from LZ and I've spoken to Richard Jones on many occasions about how Leighton Zero sort of spawned out a secondary industry afterwards with it being big contracting space, and that sort of ability to solve and help people really utilize that product was a fascinating sort of byproduct of what happened from the business launching in the first place. But to take that on and see gaps in the market and almost sort of pivot that business, that must have taken quite a bit of thought, because pivoting rightly or wrongly in the tech space has sometimes got a nose turned up sort of viewpoint of it. If you're pivoting, you've got the wrong strategy, etc., etc. But to me, it's always been about entrepreneurialism and seeing opportunities and sort of creating that. Tell me a little bit about your thought process behind that and what allowed that to sort of develop.
Well, I guess we were really lucky. We started off the consulting business, and there, it was about partnering with amazing people. And so within the first year of setting up our consulting business, we had 25 consultants working for us. And effectively, those 25 consultants were people that we knew in the industry. Yeah. We would never go and hire off the street. We basically just built out a consulting business through a network of people we knew and trusted. And I guess what that did is it gave us the sort of ability to go and prove ourselves as expert implementers of any technology solution, anything that the buy side wanted to implement, whether it's a risk system, a performance system, an attribution system. We understood the sort of core building blocks of the data involved to do that. And so I guess we were lucky enough to have implemented some amazing technology solutions that are available off the street. And we saw what was good and we saw what was bad about these different solutions, either in their approach to delivering it, whether it was on-premises installations or cloud-based installations, or their approach to implementing the solution. And what we did is we set out a goal to say our solution should be possible to implement Compscise within 5 days. Because we knew Charles River takes years to implement, and obviously every upgrade is another year worth of work. The same was the case with Latent Zero in those days. And so what we wanted to do is have a solution that we could implement in 5 days, and we've done it. We now have a solution which we can get live in 5 days.
It's incredible, isn't it?
What's more impressive, and don't let Amrish be too modest here, is that not only did Compscise identify this hole in the market and attack it full on, as you say, in this very entrepreneurial way, this idea of implementation in short order, and the idea that they would take, as early as they did, this is 2013, take this offering and put it in the cloud. I think for that time was also extremely forward thinking and allowed for the success that they've had, as well, of course, properly identifying that hole in the market.
Yeah, I think we sort of take for granted, don't we? Sorry to cut across you there, but we take for granted that sort of in the cloud aspect in today's world. But it's taken so long for that adoption to really so the forward thinking aspect of there. I absolutely agree with Amrish. Sorry, I cut across you there.
No, I was just going to say that we could never have built our company without Amazon Web Services. And to Alan's point, the very first 2 or 3 customers that we signed, they said, we've never done a cloud project before. We've never done a cloud security assessment before. So they worked with us, to try and mold their on-premises security assessment to something that might be applicable to the cloud. And obviously, every time they asked for something that couldn't be done in the cloud, like, can I have access to your database? We don't do that. Amazon have access to that. We can't give you access to that. So, it was them learning at the same time as us trying to convince them that it's safe to put the data in the cloud. And we had to do things from 2013, like encryption of data at rest. Many of our competitors today still don't do that. And so, to Alan's point, I think the other big thing that I think we were blessed for was the fact that we were bootstrapped. We didn't take any external funding, and so it was our own money as the co-founders of the company that we were putting on the line to try and build the product. And so it was imperative that we built amazing relationships with every one of our customers, because it was our customers that helped drive the direction of the product. So customers who gave us references and helped us grow into new clients. And so for us, not taking funding at that point, I think was a key decision. And we were lucky enough to have a separate consulting business that was allowing us to focus our time and effort as the founders on this new product.
How much of a decision was that? Because we've seen funding, fund back rocket ships, etc., and we've seen people who have bootstrapped, and I know there's always a decision to be made on that. How much of a decision was that to?
The hard part was, the hard part was giving up consulting work, which was obviously lucrative. Like, our clients would have continued to pay the co-founders as long as we wanted to run numerous projects for them. And to step away from a guaranteed fixed salary to something that was uncertain, that was the hard part. And it took a lot of effort and courage to sort of say, okay, we're going to spend all of our time focusing on this, and whether we get paid or not, we know it's the right thing to do. And really, I guess what it all boils down to is we could see that the industry was lacking a solution that helps buy sides in treating us, each of us, as investors in a buy side. There was no solution out there that helps an asset manager in treating each of us fairly. And because the technology didn't exist, asset managers could never, do any better than they could at the time. And so we realized that if it's our money that's being paid away, how would we want our money to be, reviewed and sort of managed in terms of how it was being spent for execution and how it was being spent for research? And so that's to the core of our platform from day zero. That's been baked into how we've built the software.
I think that's incredible, and I love that. As someone who started a business myself, I just love that whole the sort of balls on the line, for want of a better expression of it, because it does take a lot of bravery, particularly when you've got something there that's already in situ.
Yeah.
And for it to have gone as well as it has done over the last 6-7 years is testament to. I think you said something there that I think is fascinating. You knew it was the right thing to do, and I also want to sort of circle back to where you were saying, look, you had to do things there which your customers were heavily involved in. You worked very closely in partnership with them to do it because you knew that they were going to be the catalyst for those POCs to be able to go out and win further customers from it. And I think that's been for so often, one of the most important bits that people get right to launch their businesses, or get wrong, and and try and drive their opinions onto other people. And I know, from having spoken to you a fair amount recently, I think that sort of becomes very much a theme, that you guys are there and are looking to really understand and feel the pain points of those customers. I want to focus in on that a little bit, because your product range is very much based around problems, customer pain points, etc., etc. Tell us a little bit about the pain that you've seen in the industry, because I think what some of the things that you guys are doing at the moment is relatively unique or completely unique in providing solutions to problems that just haven't got other solutions at the moment. And that to me has always been fascinating. Give us a bit of an insight into that.
Well, yeah, I mean, so in 2013, we started building Compscise Buy, which is a solution dedicated to asset managers. But asset managers don't work in a silo, right? Asset managers deal with executing brokers, trading counterparts, but they also have hundreds of research providers who work with them as well. So what we had to do is build a technology stack that plugs in all these brokers that they deal with and all the research providers that they deal with. And I guess in plugging all these other counterparts into this piece of technology, we started to learn about some of the problems those firms have. And so we've now got a network solution designed for all of the three core players in this space. We have Compscise Buy, designed for asset managers. We have Compscise Sell, designed for brokers, whoever have a trading relationship. We help them unbundle all of their trading trades with all of their clients. And then we have a third product called Compscise Client Strategy, designed for research providers. Anybody with a research franchise has a set of problems that cannot be solved today by one piece of technology. And so what I would love to do is just explain some of the problems that the sell side have as partners of the buy side in servicing the buy side with research. They have issues around making sure they get paid for those research services as best as possible. Sell-side firms have a number of scarce resources, whether that be analysts, whether that be access to a meeting with Elon Musk, or whether that be the time spent of their sales team. All of these resources are scarce, and each sell-side firm is trying to monetize those scarce resources as best as possible. But they have a CRM system to effectively track all the services they provide to their buy side. But separate to that, they have to manage all the contracts that they have with their buy side. They have to get all this data to their buy side clients, because as a result of MiFID, asset managers have to be able to track all the services being consumed, price all those services being consumed. They're negotiating these rate cards with every one of these buy side clients. And again, systems don't really exist to manage all of this. And likewise, they have to invoice for all these services based on agreements that they've put in place. And so what we realize is actually the same sort of idea that we built into Compscise Buy in 2013, that problem exists, but flipped on its head with the research providers and with the sell side brokers. And so we've been able to use our experiences on both sides of the fence to bring a much more cohesive and integrated solution to firms out there.
Yeah, I think that to me is, again, comes back down to that very sort of point that you were making beforehand, is sort of looking at this in a very entrepreneurial way, which seems to be very much in the DNA of the business, and even in its how it was born. That we're looking at things there that say, right, here's the problem, and how does that problem generate, and how can we provide efficiencies to everyone within it. So client strategy, you mentioned before there as being a product which has been gaining real traction. Tell us a little bit about where that's going and the sort of benefit that you're seeing for your clients within client strategy.
So I think the benefit is multiple fold. There's benefits for the sell side, and I guess from a sell side perspective, what we're trying to do is help the sell side effectively track all the services that they're giving to their clients, price all those services, distribute all that data to the buy side, and then understand the profitability of each of their customers. Now, what that gives the sell side is hopefully an increase in revenue compared to what they're doing today. Most sell side firms are doing all of these things using a combination of tracking services in a CRM system, plus a bunch of spreadsheets sitting in another place, disparate systems that are unconnected, maybe dealing with invoicing. And so we bring all of it together into one place. So it's an integration product, but at the same time, it's a product that's tuned specifically to the needs of sell-side firms who have a research franchise. And as a result of MiFID, every research franchise now really has to maintain a P&L. They have to be able to justify, how are they going to be continuing to pay for all their analysts and their sales team who are part of that research franchise. And without having data to help make those decisions, it's very difficult. Now, of course, if you're a bulge bracket broker, you've spent millions of dollars trying to solve this problem, and you'd have done something very similar to what we've done. But there's hundreds and hundreds of research providers who don't have that sort of bandwidth to go and build something themselves. And as a result, we can give them a turnkey solution that could effectively help them better monetize their research franchise at the same time as building a better, cleaner relationship with their buy-side clients. So in exactly the same way as I am passionate about delivering the best experience for every one of my buy-side clients, I trust every one of our research partners who is using client strategy has that same intention. They want to grow their relationship with each of the buy-side clients that they service, and giving every buy-side client the cleanest possible data, giving every buy-side client a targeted service model that's designed to what that firm cares about. Firm A doesn't care about technology research and cares about automotives. Well, don't keep flooding them with technology research, because that's meaningless. You're not going to get monetized for that, and you're pissing that client off. So we can help those research providers track what is it that every one of my buy-side clients cares about, and then ensure we're focusing our efforts with that firm in the areas that they care about.
Yeah, and this is this to me is a fascinating point, because if you look at both buy and sell side technology, but particularly the buy side, a lot of tech at the moment is focusing on, I guess, reducing friction, reducing all of the sort of pain points that are there in the marketplace. And alongside that, we are, I think, in every industry in the world now, competing with a world of ever decreasing margins. So more and more cost, more and more pressure, more and more things to deal with, particularly with regulation and everything that sort of comes into there as well.
What's interesting about that point is we've been talking thus far about the innovation, the areas of institutional buy-side and sell-side activities that were in need of a technology solution. But the other piece of the drivers of fintech, and I think the drivers of what Compscise has built over the years, is this aspect of declining margins, this commission compression on the sell side over the last 10 plus years, the declining margins on the buy side due to a focus on passive management, moving away from active management, and some of those fees starting to come down, the regulatory pressures that our buy side and sell side are both facing, whether it's MiFID or in the US. This has created tremendous demand to create those efficiencies, to have the folks running those businesses look for technology solutions that can not only bring efficiencies, but that can actually bring a return to their business activities, that can yield, an ROI on that investment in technology.
Yeah, I think that is exactly what's where you're seeing, I guess, where you're seeing the traction in that, right, and where the take up is, because efficiencies is if I look back 10 years to when we started the business, everyone was talking about the sort of race to zero latency. That was that was the sort of buzz phraseology of 2010 to 2012. We've seen over the last couple of years a sort of massive pressure around regulation and increased costs, and how people can look around those particular problems alongside it as well. And then obviously the 2020 being very much around a completely fragmented and different world that we live in, and again needing to make sure that operations work particularly well in spite of everything, at the moment. So having a business there, and this is something I look at every single year, as you know, in the financial technologists, you guys have been cited in the past. We look at the most influential fintech companies for the year ahead. Watch out for a Q1's issue where we'll be looking at again. Spoiler alert! I think you guys are doing a great job again. But we look at that now and see the traits. And I've interviewed over the last 3 years many of the companies who've been listed in that. And when I see them, the common traits all the time are people there who are looking at those particular opportunities and trying to gain that advantage, be it cloud-based technology and the gains that we can get in 2020 around that, be it regulatory technology and how people can increase their margin or improve their margin around it, or be speed, efficiency and control around that as well. And Alan, I know this is something that's sort of very dear to your heart and something that you guys have been working on, particularly. Tell me a little bit about where you see the sort of biggest efficiencies and how companies can really gain that advantage.
Well, Toby, I think you've probably spoken to a lot of people about this in the recent past, but this idea about interoperability has been a big push over the past few years. OpenFin has done a great job in getting traction in the market and creating desktop efficiencies on the buy side and the sell side, bringing together disparate solutions into something that looks a lot more coordinated. And I think the reason for that is again, this sprouting of technology in our business, either attacking the needs for efficiency because of declining margins, because of these opportunities, holes in the market that Amrish has mentioned. So all of these technologies have sprouted, and the question then becomes, how do they work together? At Compscise, we've invested heavily in APIs, in connectivity, because that's the entire business, is filling a gap and then creating transparency throughout the life cycle of the buy side, sell side relationship. But not every fintech company has invested in that. And so the concept of bringing them together with a third-party technology has been very attractive. But there's also been another approach to solving these problems, and that is a lot of the buyouts that you've seen in the market over the past few years. The biggest ones being Charles River and As Software, where Charles River was bought by State Street and As was bought by SS&C, and the idea behind those is to bring under one roof a front to back solution that can be all things to all people, that's supported by significant resources. And so then this battle in the marketplace now appears, where you've got the nimbleness and innovation of small fintech companies and their ability to work within a larger ecosystem versus somebody who may feel they have a more attractive offering because they're fully integrated under one roof. And I think that's going to be, looking forward, that's going to be the big question mark as to which one of those approaches ends up in the end winning out. And can the larger fully integrated front to back solutions continue to be as nimble as they were when they were growing at their infancy, versus the push in the marketplace to take all of the smaller technology companies and just allow them to work together through the additional third-party technology. And we'll see. Now, Compscise is in fact one of those companies that was swallowed up by a larger company, and Euronext is now the owner of Compscise. The difference is that Compscise, while taking advantage of a lot of the Euronext resources, but specifically the backing and the financial resources, we are still continue to operate as a small independent unit and as nimble as we've always been.
Yeah, that is a very, very interesting point, isn't it? Because you look at some of the acquisitions that have happened over recent years, and look, the enterprise aspect for me has always been something which has been a sort of curious bedfellow, where people are trying to be everything and all areas of. and the inflexibility for people to be able to get the results and the solutions that they actually want for their specific problems haven't been, well, you know, like it or lump it, you've got to have this big system. It's very expensive and difficult to take out. You can't customize it, and you can't solve your sort of individual stylistic problems. This is how the market works. And the beauty of what I've seen over recent years, particularly with this, you know, sort of advances in APIs and that market opening up and collaboration sort of very much coming to the fore, is it has user at heart, right? You are looking and sitting there and saying, right, as a, you know, someone sat on a desk, what is the best thing for me, as opposed to what is the thing which people are telling me are the best things.
Well,
and I can then cherry pick and then move it correctly, right?
Yeah, and the scary thing about that is the nasty secret in technology, especially, you know, again, OEMS systems are the biggest example of this, is the barrier to exit. You know, these things are way too complicated to pull out and switch into a new system. You may have worked for a number of years with your partners to customize a lot of workflows that are going to be very difficult to replicate. But with this new move towards the interoperability and these third-party, you know, glue that sticks them together, it's a lot easier to swap in and out. And that could be scary for an organization, because you now have to prove your worth. Because, you know, if you're not what the consumer is looking for, they can very easily swap out, you know, in a modular fashion, another provider. So I do think that that's one of the interesting innovations coming.
But that's exactly how it should be, right? You know,
Yeah.
Look, I know from everything you guys have been talking about so far, it's the confidence of being able to have a solution that is there to provide real value to a business, and so you live and die by that. You know, from right there where you're talking about at the start, to say we had to do a decent proposition to make sure our customers were there and being able to tell other customers and act as case studies and referrals for it. That's got to live in the DNA of the business. And my belief is if you are not good enough for your customer in whatever business you are, they should not still have to work with you just because it's too difficult to get rid of them. You have to constantly grow and constantly add value and provide that to your customers. And if not, you get sacked. It's the same as if you're you know, someone working for a business. If your performance goes down, your job's at risk. It's the same thing for a business, that if your performance to that customer isn't at the very, very best of its ability, which is inherently why I think this is the right way to, you know, to look at things, and why I think it's so impressive that you guys have maintained that independence, despite being right, here's just the solution that we tell you have to have now because we've been swallowed up by a sort of Frankenstein group of companies that allow people to do that. That gives it that agility to put the customer first in what they're doing. And I think that's going to become ever more as we work in a more and more digital world, where more and more people are used to immediate gratification and instant need, you know, scratching of their itches. I think it becomes more and more important to have that sort of piece very, very much at the core being of your business. And it seems to me something which you guys have put a lot of emphasis and onus on.
Well, I think it goes back to the early days of when we set up our consulting company. Like, we didn't have contracts with our clients that stipulated you have to hold, you know, we have to service you for like a 1-year contract or a 6-month contract or even just project contracts. Our clients were allowed to kick us off site the very next day.
Yeah.
And what that did for us is it trained us and every one of the people who work with us to always deliver the best quality service every day. Because any day, tomorrow, you could be kicked off. And if we weren't 100 times better, the next best person on the seat, you know, we were at risk. And so we always forced ourselves to be so much better than everybody else. And really, that's how Compscise was born as well. You know, our goal is really just to deliver what clients need. And for us, we're confident, you know, we'll be able to grow the business as long as we are delivering value to the customer. And, you know, it's not about short-term gain. This is a marathon, and this is going to be a long-term, you know, game for us, where we're trying to build high-quality, long-term relationships with our clients and grow with them.
Yeah. I think that comes back to what you were saying before, doesn't it, about the benefit of coming from your background. That consulting piece is absolutely essential to make sure you're listening to your customers and you're providing value to their service, because it is transient. And being able to have that background is a huge advantage, because it means that you are right from the very start understanding and cognizant of your customer has to be king in what you're doing. something I
Well,
could
I've
talk about
noticed
for a
that
long, long time.
with you. Well, I was going to say exactly the same thing. I've noticed that with your firm, and I appreciate we've just recently engaged, but you know, there's this horrible stigma around the word recruitment consultant, and and recruitment consultants are not necessarily known for being consultants. You guys have done something different and unique where you work collaboratively with your clients. This is what we've seen. You're helping us in London, you're helping us in New York to find a unique skill set. For us, our culture is incredibly important for us. I trust every single person in our company, and I trust every single person in our company is more intelligent than I am. So I'm grateful to be working in a company that has some of the most talented people I've ever worked with. And trying to add new people into that mix is very difficult, unless we can find the right skill set that matches us culturally, has the same mindset of I'll do whatever it takes to deliver a client need. First and foremost, we've tried to hire people, and because they've lacked that sort of cultural fit, it really didn't work out. And then everyone loses energy. And so, I applaud you guys for doing, again, whatever it takes to find the right people to fit
Fingers
into.
crossed. Fingers crossed. We're trying. It's very kind of you to say that. But it's. I think I've said this to you before. This is my real soapbox sort of moment, because I've been passionately involved in the recruitment industry in this sector for 21 years, and over that time, it's always bothered me about the reputation and the sort of esteem that we hold ourselves in as an industry, and actually it's held externally from it. And I think that's been born around from delivery that hasn't necessarily been a professional service. Yet when you look at the professional services, law, accounts, and recruitment is there in the listed pages as it is one of the most fundamentally important things for a business to get right. And if they have great people, as you're testifying to there, you have a great business. If your people are half the talent, half the skill set, half the intelligence of what you have now, you're not half the business, you're a quarter of it at least. And that sort of ability to grow and scale doesn't come through from it. And culture, I've just been having this conversation just before I got onto this call. Culture is for me, and there's books behind here which I've poured over for many years, from Netflix to Salesforce to sports teams to whatever else in between. To me, that secret sauce of a business is making sure that there are people aren't there who just match the skill set of what you're looking for, but you're looking for people there who can absolutely understand the fundamental core of the DNA, buy into that, and then just not turn up to work, but to turn up to be able to drive something further forward and be part of that organization. As I say, there is a whole story in that and a whole nother episode. So maybe that's another piece which we come into later on. And I think you guys, that you've just been announced in going back to the financial technologists, we've announced the 100 best workplaces, and I know you guys are featured in that as well. So yeah, that to me is out of hundreds of or thousands and thousands of people worldwide who are eligible for that. The companies there who are investing time into making sure their culture and their people are right and retained and growing are the ones there who are really thriving within that. So another series for sure on that. I want to finish, because I know how quickly these things go, and I've just looked at the time and seen where we're at, with a little bit of a look to the future. I want to look at the future of Compscise and what people can expect to see from you this year, but I also want to see some of the trends that you're expecting to see in the marketplace, and those problems that we're seeing out there, and something you expect to see in 2021 over the course of it. And I think this will probably be out early 2021. So let's look at it there. We've got Christmas out the way before then we go into it with a bright new dawn. Everyone's very keen to see the end of 2020. As we go into 2021, bright new horizons are emerging. What are we going to see in tech? I'm going to ask both of you that, and please feel free to take the mic.
Well, I mentioned that we were one of those, many small fintech companies that were swallowed up by global organizations, and we're part of the Euronext now, and proudly so. They've done a fantastic job. And one of the things that we built collaboratively with Euronext is a U.S. broker-dealer called Euronext Market Services, of which I'm the CEO. And together with my responsibilities looking over the U.S. and the sales efforts globally, we have recognized an area in the U.S. in commission management that we feel we could take one of our legacy products, which is Compscise Buy, which at its core is a natively built technology to manage the funding and consumption of the buy side front to back. And we've taken the commission management core of that technology. We've married it with the Euronext Market Services client service layer. And we brought to market, and just in 2020 is when we really launched this, but we brought to market now a really innovative reinvention of the commission management and specifically the aggregation business. So there are 4 legacy players, incumbent players in that marketplace. They've been operating for a good 20 plus years, creating custodial aggregation services for the US soft dollar CSA programs. And we've entered that market just in 2020, sort of dipping our toe in the water, but finding a good amount of success with bringing, again, what I said first and foremost, the Compscise buy commission management technology. But then we built a truly world-class client service layer out of Euronext Market Services to support the aggregation services that the U.S. market has become accustomed to, whether it's reconciliation of CSA trades and the underlying soft dollar balances associated with them, managing invoicing, billing of 2080 eligible services, the payment and processing of invoices related to broker votes. And so we brought all that together, primarily supported by the technology, and have found a good amount of success because it's something that the US market has not seen a new player in a long time. And we feel that we're reinventing that market. And as I said, 2020 was sort of a test year, and it's been very successful. So we look forward in 2021 to talking to the buy side about their experiences, about their interests in custodial aggregation, what they like, what they wish for. Some of the folks who have not yet unbundled, there's continues to be a majority of US asset managers that do not unbundle their commissions. And the idea is, if you want to be not only transparent to your underlying asset owners in terms of the utilization of their funds for purchasing services, but be prepared for, especially if you're a smaller asset manager or a hedge fund, be prepared for the investors that may come along that are maybe European based, that are overseen by the MiFID regime, and have a system in place that allows you to properly identify those commission dollars for the services that you're consuming. And I feel like we're looking at that business as a real expansion opportunity for Compscise as a whole. We mentioned the client service and the research product as well. So we have 2 good products coming that we've test cased in 2021 that we think are on the horizon for, that we test cased in 2020 on the horizon for 2021.
It's a good time to test it as well, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, just adding generically to that, what this experience has taught us is that for any technology vendor, one of the challenges that any technology vendor has is that you've built an amazing piece of software and it's got lots of switches and dials and functionality that your clients may or may not be using. Imagine a world where you could have a piece of software as a technology vendor and your clients are getting 100% benefit from every feature you have.
Yeah.
Right? That's what our vision is. Our vision is build the best technology, but layer on the side of that the best service layer to allow clients, whoever the client is, we have 150 plus trading partners already plugged into our technology. We have 2,000 plus research providers giving us data every day. We have 50 plus buy-side clients, some of the largest in the world, using our technology. Now, all of these firms will have people in various seats who currently are responsible for managing that technology stack, right? Because they're, it's a SaaS-based platform. We license the technology and they run it. Whereas what we're now evolving to is a model where technology plus services can come together to solve more than just what can be solved by a client just licensing our technology alone. we've got people can outsource parts of this problem to us. We can add, data cleansing services on top of what they're already got available. So we can enrich the experience of every one of our clients by adding a service layer that they don't have available to them today. And because we're using people who, this is all they do. This is their full-time job. We have 50 people across the globe now in 4 offices, and this is all we do. So to try and get access to these teams to help improve the experience every one of our clients have of using our platform is really our goal. And I think it makes a lot of sense that other vendors may follow a similar model next year.
Well, do you know what? I almost want to get up and applaud, because if I think about that on a personal level, one of the things I've been, or we as a business have been really passionate about, is making sure that we've got a world-class tech suite to allow our consultants to provide the best possible service. So we want to have them in a very similar sort of way. We want to give them a trading advantage. We want to have them the horseshoe in the boxing glove, as I like to call it, the unfair advantage in what they're doing. But to get that, despite having a sort of suite there, from video technology through to data, through to the CRM, through to every single aspect of what we're doing, and that suite there to allow people to be faster, better, and stronger in the way that they deliver. We've got to make sure that those people are able to seamlessly use it, to have that advantage where there isn't the clutter, but they're using everything to the maximum of their business. And when I look at the vendor world, and have done over many years, you look at it and you think one of the core things that lets companies down is the professional services that follows the implementation of the tech. Great tech, if it's failed by the post sales and the customer success aspect of it all, I think you're falling into an abyss that is very, very difficult to get back into, because people then just sort of take stuff for granted and use a fraction of the tech advantage which they can gain from using the products to the best of their ability. And I think there lies a real opportunity. I agree with you, guys. It's been an absolute joy speaking to you. I've thoroughly enjoyed this episode. I know there's going to be people here who have their ears pricked up and saying, I need to get some of that Kool-Aid as well. What's the best way for them to be getting in touch with you?
Visit our website, compscise.com, and we'd be delighted to speak to anybody who have any problems in this space. If you're a buy-side firm, you're a sell-side firm, you're a research provider, we're super excited to speak to you. And likewise, as we said earlier, we're growing across the globe. In all 4 locations, we're looking for people. So if you think you're the best in the world at what you do, we would love to speak to you. We're just excited to meet people who are passionate about what they do and keen to make a change in this world. We think there's so much more to do in our space. We're fortunate enough to have started early enough. We think we're leading the marketplace in terms of helping solve this problem, and we'd be very keen to have anyone who's interested, join us on this journey.
We've just celebrated 1,000 followers on LinkedIn, so we're all over LinkedIn. You can find us there as well. You can look Amrish or I up. We'll be straight away happy to reply to your message.
I saw that yesterday. Well done. Nice way to end the year. Listen, guys, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thanks so much for joining us and sharing that sort of story. I've got so many more questions and things to come in. I've got a big smile on my face because I thoroughly enjoyed that, and it's been brilliant. So really appreciate you coming on the show.
Thank you so much for organizing. Really appreciate it.
Yep.
Absolute pleasure. And thank you all for watching. I hope you've enjoyed it as much as I have. And I'll see you soon on another episode of Fintech Focus TV. Thanks very much.